Good morning, lovely people. Thank you, Curtis, for that gift. I obviously, from the titles, need to go find Alice Walker's books. All three, everything paved the way for what I'm heading for today. Even if I'm not entirely sure what the final result will be. I wrote this last night. I completely rewrote it again this morning. And I always give Spirit the permission to shove me out of the way and go wherever it needs to. So who knows where this is going to go. But, Alora, thank you. I can see clearly now was a real reminder that to a certain degree we all can actually see clearly for ourselves, and a reminder that second-guessing myself all the time, and I suspect the same is probably true for most of you folks, is not necessarily in service of the light and the love. The title, Overcoming Speechlessness, that one I particularly need to go and hunt down. Our yoga instructor, I was remembering that Patanjali, the sage and deity associated with yoga, 3 of his incarnations, as I recall it, one, he gave a grammar so people could speak clearly. One, he gave a medicine, a book on medicine so people could be clearly. And one, he gave a yoga. He gave the yoga, which is a practice that allows so many good things. We've gotten a piece of one of them today. Thank you. I'm going to start by stating the trap I keep falling into again and again. Rationality is not the same as sanity. And I almost worship rationality. Rationality in its purest form can't effectively deal with any of the intangibles in the world. Pretty much it's not designed to. It says it's in the material. Basically, it's all about what you can see, hear, taste, touch. Or through those senses. Otherwise, discern. So, it basically can't deal with humor, or love, or spirit, or pain. So, rationality, in its purest form, cannot effectively deal with most of the interesting stuff. And that's a thing that I need reminded of from time to time. And since I'm the one who's with me all the time, I'm the one who has to do the reminding. Sorry, I want to keep an eye on the time. Per the American Psychological Association, sanity is, 1, in law, the state of not suffering from a mental disorder or neurological defect that impairs one's ability to understand and appreciate one's own acts or to conform to the requirements of the law. 2, more generally, soundness of mind or judgment. So, Can you do a physical and mental self-assessment that would roughly match up with what your two closest friends would say? Ballpark. There's room for debate, always. Can you understand the effect of your behaviors and choices on you and those around you? Can you understand safety, laws, and the rights of others? Probably most of us can say yes to all of those things. Congratulations, you are most likely legally sane. Sanity is not a medical label. Only a judge actually is allowed to make that determination. A doctor often gets a say, but not always. And they don't get the deciding vote. One of the notes that I scribbled in as I was sitting here, that I apparently want to add in here. There are times when life just hammers at you. You're not in a space of spirit necessarily in the meditative, lovely, able to be in touch with the beautiful immanence form of things. But you are, no matter how you are doing in that period, I'm fairly certain that you in this room are not insane, because love is not insane. And if you're here at this center, there are a few things that we have agreed on in common. Our vision statement is, as expressions of divinity, we celebrate a world awakened to love. There are going to be times where the fear is going to fight with that love. But the love is not insane. You are not insane for choosing love in the face of fear. You are also not insane for acknowledging whatever you are afraid of. Love is real, so is reality. Sort of. Our mission statement is that our mission is to explore universal truths underlying all paths of spiritual growth by providing weekly fellowship, learning, and social events to create and inspire a vibrant and diverse spiritual community. So, it's pretty clear that we're not a place that's trying to make us all in ideological lockstep. Which is good. I mean, I have two very nice quotes, one from Eric Fromm about the pathology of normalcy, and one from David Cooper that I'm going to be thinking about for a while, that normalcy is opposed to both madness and sanity. Still thinking about that one. However, and this is, I think, why I wanted this to be my topic, why I finally settled and felt like this was what I needed to speak about, is that the concept of and stigma around sanity has interfered more with my spiritual practice than any other single concept. I'm a mental health nurse. I am myself diagnosed as mentally ill. Anybody who's ever been diagnosed with depression, basically, that puts you in with the 30% of us who are diagnosably mentally ill. Neurochemistry is just as vulnerable to weirdness as blood sugar is. We run heavily, and I also come from a family full of neurochemically complicated people. Practically speaking, and you'll see why this ties back to the spiritual practice, my family tends to run heavily toward a mix of ministers, mystics, alcoholics, healers, pioneers in something, or people in insane asylums. Because spirituality and sanity don't always play well together. So interfaith is a real gift, because at the very least, for those of us who are interested in exploring in new directions that we may discover that we disagree with later, we get to try and see and not be cast off. We're in fact welcomed. And thank you all. Anyway, circling back, I also believe that neurochemical illness is just illness. Treating it requires insight, compassion, and boundaries, both from the person having it and those around them. Therefore, as a result, ignoring it doesn't help. Trying to treat it as if the person can just not do the things that causes it doesn't help. And treating somebody like they have absolutely no control over it does not help. For example, it is an illness like diabetes. If you ignore diabetes, your blood sugar does not magically improve. It goes higher and higher until things start going wrong. However, if you tell a diabetic that if they just person up, they can control their blood sugar by the old diet and exercise method, some will manage it, and some will end up in the hospital with acute renal failure. Can you tell which ones from the outside? Because I can't, and I've got specialty training in both medicine and energy healing. However, if you have a diabetic family member who's trying to talk you into going out for ice cream 4 days a week, they probably have a boundary problem as well as a pancreas problem. You have no right to take the ice cream out of their freezer at home. But for your boundaries, you can certainly tell them that you'd rather go out for tea instead of ice cream. And if they insist on ice cream, tell them you'd rather not tonight. If they want the pleasure of your company, maybe something different. Now, back to sanity and spiritual practice. This one may hit a little close to home for a few people. Please, no harm, no foul. If I go into my psychiatrist to review my depression medications and tell him that I'm looking into the possibility that there are ascended masters in other star systems who might be able to speak through me to reveal wisdom, what do you think is gonna happen? Because, as a general rule, spiritual minorities are stigmatized. Because, on the other hand, if I tell him that I'm finding emotional and spiritual redemption through the weekly practice of symbolic cannibalism, that'll be taken as a good sign that I'm integrating with my community. because this is the body and blood of Christ, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me. Majorities have privilege. Does anyone else spend less time opening themselves to the divine winds of spirit because some of their most profound experiences cannot be expressed? Anyone else worry the divine madness might take them and not bring them back in time for work? I was looking at the Sanity entry in Wikipedia and found this. The territory of reality remains unnameable, unspeakable, and mysterious. The widespread assumption that we can grasp reality through language involves a degree of insanity. First of all, wow, Wikipedia. That's another thing I need to go think about. I did not expect poetry and profundity from Wikipedia, but they didn't cite anyone, so I'm guessing it's just a really good Wikipedia author. But as far as the divine winds of spirit, as far as dancing furiously, but still making sure that I hear my alarm clock, pretty much everyone here, for the most part, has a lot of practice with balancing the things they need to do and the things they hunger to do. You're capable of both binge watching your shows and getting the trash taken out. If any of you are spouses and have a debate about that, that's on you. But basically the chores get done, and so do the things that drive you, the things that are deep at your core. So for me, I guess I need to dust myself off and accept the dynamic tension of spending time dancing with the boundless while incarnated in the bounded. And I know that other people fight this, or Alice Walker wouldn't be speaking about furious dancing and a need to speak. And I wouldn't be as afraid as I am to be out as a mystic in the larger community. Because if we're not all willing to be at least a little bit out about the fact that we're not quite like everyone else, it's assumed we are like everyone else. And so there's the other people who do not have the courage. I don't remember where my reader person is, but the courage to step out and speak, don't know that they're not the only one. We've found each other. A lot of people haven't. A lot of them believe in sanity and don't know how to tell whether or not their spiritual practice has caused them to jump the shark. Basically, whether or not they're still in touch. Now, you heard the definition. As long as you can pretty much self-assess and still know where you are in relation to yourself and others and can make decisions that include their safety and well-being and yours and the law, your spiritual practice is fine. It would be helpful if you can, as a nurse, I will say activities of daily living are also kind of necessary. Showering is a real plus. And frankly, most of us can't get by without a job. So whatever it takes to keep your job is also a win. But I'm going to try to stop fearing that my spiritual practice will make me an untenable grown-up. Because there isn't a grown-up police. No one's going to come and find me. No one's going to basically, there aren't enough mental health beds for the people who really need them. They're certainly not going to put me in one, or you, even if you ask nicely. They just can't. And besides which, we have each other. If we really have a question, we can check in with each other. If you're not sure, all right, there's plenty of people here who are open-minded. Go have a conversation. You folks may not have noticed because I actually speak up front here, but I almost never have a conversation with most of you folks because I'm wildly shy. This is an exemption, one of the special cases. So don't let the fears, first of all, don't let the fears hold you back. Second of all, when you're not in the space of the divine madness and the furious dancing, and we can't all get there, because sometimes you're walking down the hospital hallway on your way to see somebody that you love, and the nurse who's caring for them is a really nasty person. And you've got a choice between love or not love. Love does not make you insane. But in the long run, your spirit is real. You're real. Trust yourselves. You're beautiful. You know it. It's okay. We'll protect you. And you'll protect yourself, and you don't need protecting anyway, because they're not out to get you. Love wins in the long run. I love you all.